Andrew Rosindell.
Thank you, Ms McVeigh, and it's a pleasure, as always, to serve under your chairmanship. And I would, of course, like to congratulate my friend, the member for Mid-Leicestershire, on securing this timely debate this afternoon. And for me to listen about the passion that colleagues have for their own towns and villages and counties. We've heard about Leicestershire, Hampshire, Suffolk and now Devon, all wonderful, great English counties. I think that it shows that whatever party we belong to, we care about the communities that we come from. We want the best local government structure that actually works for local people, delivers the services, but it's also about identity. And for me, as a proud Essex MP, being stuck in this artificial creation called Greater London has never been good. And so radical reform of local government is needed and needs to be as local as possible. True democracy is at local level, not in some bureaucratic organisation in a city. It's truly local, truly to villages and communities, and that's where it should be. We should all be working to achieve that and make it as democratic as possible. But, Ms McVeigh, I have to say that on behalf of local people, I believe the length and breadth of England, I would like to add my voice to the chorus of outrage against this Labour government's decision to delay an ever-increasing number of local government elections under the guise of restructuring. This is just an excuse not to hold elections. It's nothing less than a blatant attempt to hide themselves from the scrutiny of the ballot box, silencing the voices of millions of voters on the local issues that matter most to daily lives. And so be in no doubt that I, alongside my new party, Reform UK, colleagues here in Parliament, we totally oppose the ditching of democracy in this way. Due to be heard this week, Reform UK have launched a legal challenge, including a judicial review. We are clear that democracy delayed is democracy denied, and the Labour government is running from the fight of their lives in the upcoming elections on the 7th of May. And there is no way that the British people will let them off the hook. They may delay the elections, but they're just delaying their own defeat and demise. The British people will not forget that it's Labour that have abolished democracy in whole swathes of the country on the 7th of May. And so, Ms McVeigh, history tells us that only dictators cancel elections. Yet, shockingly, 30 local authority leaders have written to the Secretary of State requesting that local democracy be denied and their positions secured for another period without any election. I certainly will, yes.
As mentioned earlier, and the Honourable Member didn't correct me, did the Honourable Member have an issue when his former leader as local government minister delayed elections? Or either your current former leader, or the one for, and the Honourable Member's recent colleague, the Honourable Member for Newark, when he was Secretary of State for local government and also postponed elections. Did you speak out at the time? Do you akin them to dictatorships, those individuals as well?
So I think there's always a legitimate case to have a short delay when there is a serious purpose for doing so. And I remember when Mrs Thatcher abolished the Greater London Council. What a glorious day that was. We didn't have elections for the GLC and they extended it by one more year. So in circumstances like that, one more year, there are legitimate reasons for doing that. But we're talking now about up to 3 years. So this is unacceptable. This is completely beyond what is reasonable or necessary to get everything organised, ready for any local government restructure. Now, I'm not going to give away because I know the Honourable Member is going to say, but in my borough there were no delays and no restructuring for many years. So it hasn't affected my area. So I haven't spoken about other areas of delay in elections. That's for other people, other members to have done during those restructurings. I would love, Ms McVeigh, to see local government restructured in the Greater London area. I've been calling for this for many years, but sadly my former party refused to even countenance anything. When Tony Blair recreated the GLC under the guise of the GLA and this elected Mayor of London, which nobody really wants, and it's very costly, we had that opportunity in 14 years to do something about this. And my friend, the member for Orpington, I know, has concerns as well about the way the Mayor of London and the GLA has operated. And he will be replying from the front bench later. And I'll be interested to hear if a future government that the Conservatives are part of, that they're going to be radical this time, actually do something about the local government artificial structure we have imposed on us in the Greater London area. Yes, of course.
I thank the honourable gentleman for giving way, and he's absolutely right to highlight a democratic deficit. West Sussex County Council, which is Conservative-led, have chosen to delay their elections for another year, which means that the county councillors will end up serving a 7-year term without seeking a democratic mandate since 2021. But does he share my concern that the constituents of Romford didn't elect a Reform MP?
So at the general election, which we need as soon as possible, we will see how many Reform MPs are elected. So I'm happy to have an election. I am happy to see an election as soon as we can possibly have one, because this country needs change. We've been stuck in a rut for years, and the British people have had enough. And so, yes, let's have an election. Let's have a general election. Let's get rid of this disastrous government, and let's see our country put in a better place. So going back to the original point, so most of the boroughs that are delaying their elections are Labour, but the Conservatives and the Liberal Democrats, they don't get off the hook scot-free, I have to say. Both parties have also requested cancellations. So, as it stands, over 600 council seats will not be contested later this year, meaning that almost 4 million people will be denied the chance to elect their local councillor representatives. Shameful, Ms McVeigh, it really is. It's unnecessary and wrong, and this policy should be changed. This is nothing short of a scandal, and the British people deserve better. They deserve a say about who runs their local councils. And that is why Reform UK supports serious consultations on local government reorganisation and ultimately referendums on that reorganisation. Local voices cannot be silenced, and we will fight to ensure that they are heard. Although bringing a short-term advantage to the Labour Party, blocking elections harms local people. Take, for example, in my borough of Havering, in year 2000, London government was reorganised, as I've already referred to, and it's not disorganised in. It was reorganised in not a dissimilar manner to this reorganisation taking place across the country today. Our area had the administrative title imposed on us in the 1960s of the London Borough of Havering. And you come to Havering, I think everybody knows they're Essex. We don't need to be told we're suddenly part of London when we've been 1.5 millennia under Essex, and suddenly a bureaucracy imposes a new title on us. And now we're under the thumb of this elected mayor and the Greater London Assembly. So please, can we have a referendum on whether to stay part of that particular regional government structure? Because Havering is not London, and we do not want to have our local government controlled by a London mayor, particularly the current one. And I think most of my constituents would like to see us get out. We want to connect with our Essex roots, both culturally and administratively. The people of Havering deserve a referendum whether they want to continue to be dominated by a political mayor. It must be their decision whether we remain part of that, and I believe it's time to let local constituents in Romford and throughout the borough of Havering have the choice to decide whether we want to be under a Mayor of London or whether we can regain our independence and our local identity back. At one point, if elections go ahead, the department, the ministry said that at one point that if all elections go ahead, there has to be strong evidence-based and justification for such a temporary delay. And these words, I think, are now haunting the Labour Party. I firmly believe that local and regional government is in dire need of reform, not only in my borough of Havering, but across the country. However, the answer cannot be less engagement with local people, but must be the opposite of that, giving local people a genuine say about the structure of their local councils. There should be thorough consultations, crystal clear explanations and referendums in local areas so that the decision is made by local people and not by central government and by central government bureaucrats making decisions over and above the heads of what local people truly want. The government's current excuses are simply that. In fact, it is worse. The reality is that this is a political stitch-up to keep local authorities under Labour control, which I have to say, speaking to people in my constituency, it's the last thing they want, to see Labour running their local council, having experienced a Labour government and a Labour Mayor of London. They are running from the polls and taking democracy with them, Mr McVeigh, and they should change this policy quickly. However, there is still time for the government to make its favourite U-turn. We've seen a lot of those recently, so let's see another one on this issue. Local government needs fundamental reform, but the government must consult people more broadly, respect democracy and allow elections to go ahead as planned. Anything else is unacceptable to local people across this country, regardless of their political affiliations. But Reform UK will fight this every step of the way. And if I could just end, Miss McVeigh, by commending my honourable friend for East Hampshire, who actually made a very good point about the identity of the historic counties. And another issue that I've fought for many, many years, where the historic counties and the ceremonial counties should be combined so that we all have one county identity rather than the muddle that we have at the moment of ceremonial counties, administrative counties and historic counties. Three definitions of counties is a nonsense. And with this local government reorganisation, it does mean we should go back to the simple concept of county being a geographical and historical area that we can all feel part of because it's our history and it's our identity. Again, my borough should always have been under the ceremonial county of Essex. There's lots of other anomalies across the country. I know there are in Leicestershire and other parts of the country where these anomalies exist. So perhaps the Minister could take this one back at least so that we can have one county identity, which I think we could celebrate then across the country. Yes, of course.
I want to thank the honourable gentleman for giving way. He does seem to have an identity focus, whether that's geographically or party political. But in my area of Woking, my constituents are much more concerned about potholes, the appalling child safety issue of county council. Don't you think that should be a primary focus, not this issue?
Okay.
Vision. I think there's going to be 3 divisions. So if we want to come back in 35 minutes, okay, 4:31, Andrew Rosindell.
Thank you, Mr. McVeigh. I was about to conclude my remarks as the bell went, but I would just finally say that if, as I hope, the Minister takes on board my point about the historic and ceremonial counties, that when that happens, the town halls in all the areas across our land will proudly fly the county flags from each town and county hall across England. And I know that will delight the honourable member for Chichester.